Previously, on Wars That Broke Tumblr, we watched shipping wars detonate entire fandoms, we saw tag raids weaponize reblogs into culture-jamming warfare, we lived through the corporate ball pit disaster and the ideological trench wars that followed. Tumblr's always been unstable, but this time, it wasn't fandoms fighting fandoms, it was Tumblr versus itself. The war ended in silence, not the kind of silence you get after discourse dies down, the kind that creeps in when a purge sweeps through and turns a dashboard into a graveyard. Because on December 17th, 2018, Tumblr didn't just ban porn, it banned weird, it banned art, it banned the unfiltered chaos that made Tumblr, well, Tumblr. This is the story of Operation NSFW, the day Tumblr tried to save itself and ended up gutting its own soul. But here's the thing, this didn't come out of nowhere. This wasn't a sudden bomb drop, this was a slow bleed, a ticking clock. Shadow bans, censor tags, safe mode filters, all quiet signs that Tumblr was already tearing itself apart long before anyone hit the big red button. The purge was just the final blow. Before the purge, there was the pressure. You could feel it creeping in, slowly, like the heat rising in a room no one's allowed to talk about. At first, it was safe mode. Introduced in 2017, pitched as a safety tool, in reality, a content muzzle, art, memes, fanfiction, all getting flagged, not because it was explicit, but because it was sensitive, which in Tumblr language meant annoying to advertisers. Then came the content warnings, entire blogs randomly triggering age gates, no porn, no violence, just a lesbian book quote, or a drawing with a thigh gap. Congratulations, flagged. It didn't matter if the blog was safe. Tumblr's new filters were built like tripwires and everyone was walking on them barefoot. Search suppression followed. Try typing #lesbian into the search bar. Nothing. You weren't banned. You were just hidden. Shadow banned by an algorithm too skittish to say the quiet part out loud. And then there was Verizon. Yahoo had already fumbled Tumblr hard, but once Verizon bought it in 2017, everything shifted. The blog became a business. The dashboard became a brand, and all the chaotic energy that made Tumblr unbearable and iconic, that was now a liability. This wasn't a purge yet, but it was a preview, a slow, quiet censorship, tag by tag, post by post, until one day you open the app and realize Tumblr didn't feel like Tumblr anymore. Every war has a trigger. Tumblr wasn't a meme, a tag, or a fandom meltdown. It was Apple. On November 16th, 2018, Tumblr was suddenly quietly removed from the iOS App Store. No press release, no user warning, just gone. People thought it was a glitch. They joked. The site finally deleted itself. Did Yahoo trip over the server again? But it wasn't a joke. Apple had discovered that CSAM, child sexual abuse material, had slipped through Tumblr's automated filters and was being hosted on the platform. This was the breaking point. Apple doesn't mess around with that, and neither should anyone. They didn't send a stern warning. They pulled the app, and in that moment, Tumblr, a platform already clinging to its cultural relevance, was backed into a corner. This wasn't about user safety. This was about corporate optics. Tumblr had embarrassed Apple, embarrassed Verizon, and exposed how fragile its moderation system actually was. Inside Verizon Media, panic set in. They weren't Tumblr people. They were ad tech people, and now they were in damage control mode. What followed wasn't a fix. It was a scorched earth strategy. Instead of improving moderation tools, instead of investing in human review, they decided to nuke all adult content in one sweeping, AI-powered purge style. This wasn't about fixing a problem, it was about erasing liability in the fastest, most PR-friendly way possible. The result, a vague, sanitized policy, was quietly drafted behind the scenes, one that would go live within weeks, one that didn't care who got erased, as long as Apple was happy. And the best part, they called it a community update. Tumblr didn't take responsibility, they took cover, but the user base could smell the fire coming. Tags started glitching, blogs started vanishing, and the silence from staff deafening. The purge hadn't officially begun, but the countdown had. On December 3rd, 2018, Tumblr posted a simple blog announcement. Starting December 17th, adult content will no longer be allowed on Tumblr. No fanfare, no press tour, just a quiet little post that would change the internet forever. They called it a community guideline update, but what it really was a mass deletion order. The definition of adult content, vague, slippery, corporate, photos, videos, or GIFs that show real human genitals or female-presenting nipples. And just like that, a phrase was born. Female-presenting nipples, a term so awkward awkward, so clinical, so Tumblr that it became an instant meme and a warning sign of just how bad things were about to get. The new policy wasn't targeted, it wasn't nuanced, it was a nuke. If you posted art, flagged, queer content, flagged, memes with suggestive tags, flagged, even reblogging someone else's flag content could put your blog at risk. There was no trial, no appeal, no context. Tumblr didn't care if it was erotic art, fandom thirst, or just an anime character existing near a knee. If the algorithm twitched, you were out. And the users, they lost their minds. Dashboards filled with protest posts, art blogs wiped clean overnight, people posting goodbye banners, sarcastic ripped Tumblr tributes, or just full-on chaos. The site didn't crash, it collapsed, and Tumblr staff silent. No apology, no adjustment, no explanation, just the sound of content vanishing. The purge had begun, and Tumblr would never be the same again. Once the purge was announced, Tumblr said not to worry, everything would be handled fairly. They just forgot to mention they'd be outsourcing FAIR to a half-blind algorithm trained on vibes. See, instead of real moderators, Tumblr deployed an AI-powered auto-flagging system. In theory, it was supposed to detect NSFW material in practice. It couldn't tell the difference between porn and lasagna. And yes, Garfield fan art was one of the casualties. The AI started flagging everything. Drawings, clouds, stock photos, a lizard, a tree, a cartoon frog, anything with a shadow or a curve too sexy, gone. Users immediately started stress testing the system, posting innocent images just to see what would get wiped. A couch, a sandwich, a shoe, flagged. It became Tumblr's new minigame. How broken is the bot today? But the damage wasn't funny. Legit artist profiles vanished. Queer posts were censored. SFW cosplay and comic panels got auto-deleted. Meanwhile, some actual NSFW slipped through because the bot couldn't recognize nuance if it punched it in the code, and Tumblr staff radio silence. No transparency, no rollback, just a broken system flailing around while users watched their blogs disintegrate in real time. People didn't even know what they'd done wrong. The AI never explained, it just erased. This was moderation by roulette. Flag first, think never. And for a site that built itself on community, weirdness, and creative freedom, this was the last straw for a lot of people. After the purge and the AI catastrophe, there was only one thing left to do: leave. Tumblr's ban didn't just kill porn, it torched entire communities. Queer creators, sex workers, fan artists, fandom historians, all flagged, all buried, all told they didn't belong. And if they weren't outright deleted, they were algorithmically silenced, hidden, suppressed, shadow banned into an oblivion. Art blogs disappeared overnight. Reblogs led to dead ends. Dashboards became ghost towns. Even safe content creators started posting goodbye banners. I'm out, find me on Twitter. This site's done. Archive what you can. The exodus didn't happen all at once. It happened in waves. First the sex workers, then the artists, then the fandoms. Tumblr's culture didn't just leave, it fractured. Some went to Twitter, others to Pillow Fort, some to nowhere at all. There wasn't a mass migration point, just scatter, and the silence that followed, deafening. Posts stopped getting notes, tags stopped updating. Entire blogs sat untouched for months. Users were still posting, but no one was listening anymore. Even Tumblr's trending tab looked wrong, like it was waiting for something that wasn't coming back. And through it all, the site pretended nothing had happened. No apology, no course correction, just bots, brands, and the faint echo of a platform that used to be alive. Tumblr didn't die, it just went quiet. So here we are. Tumblr survived, technically, but let's be honest, it's not the same site. What once was a chaotic, beautiful mess of fandoms, queerness, art trash posting, and niche culture now feels like a hollowed out archive. The NSFW purge didn't just delete porn, it deleted people. It erased artists, identities, entire communities that used Tumblr because no one else would take them. It was a warning, dressed up as a policy, a message to creators. We'll let you be here until it becomes inconvenient, and it was done badly, with a broken bot, no appeal process, no apology, no recovery. But that's what makes this episode different from the others. The shipping wars, the tag raids, the DashCon fallout, those were all battles within the community. This was the platform turning on the people who built it, and what's left, a ghost site filled with bots, echoing memes from 2014. The occasional cryptid still blocking like it's 2013, screaming into a void made of nostalgia and broken tags. But there's still something weirdly poetic about it, because no matter how hard they tried to scrub it, censor it, corporatize it, Tumblr's still Tumblr, just not the same one we knew. And if this series feels like a digital archaeology, that's because it is. So yeah, Tumblr banned porn, and somehow managed to ban its own culture in the process. Operation NSFW wasn't just a policy change, it was a digital self-immolation. Clean house, kill the soul, and the fallout still echoing. The site didn't die, it just mutated, because what came after the purge wasn't peace. It was bots, it was stands, it was age discourse, it was a new wave of users who didn't remember 2013 and didn't want to. Tumblr's weirdness didn't vanish, it went feral. Anyway, teaser section begins. Tumblr survived the purge, but it didn't survive intact. Suddenly, anyone over 25 was labeled ancient Tumblr, anyone under 18 was accused of killing the vibe, and every tag war turned into generational trench warfare. Old Tumblr spoke in memes and fanfic, new Tumblr speaks in vibes and trauma posts, and now they're both in the same space, glaring at each other across a dashboard made of broken culture and block lists. Next time on Wars That Broke Tumblr, the age-line conflict, taglines like hashtag Phantom Don't Age, they ossify, hashtag if you have to ask what DashCon was, you're too young to be here, hashtag the call is coming from inside the discourse. Also, someone tried to cancel Garfield, so yeah, Tumblr's doing just fine.